Hi, my name is Jenny Bravada and I'm from the Plainview, New York State, and I want to share with you my conversion story. I've had a lot of experiences in my life where I've felt the hand of God. I know that He lives and I know that He loves me. When I was a little girl in second grade, my mom would give me coffee with breakfast, which is probably strange for some people, maybe in different parts of the country, but in New York, coffee's a big thing. And every morning I'd have my little cup of coffee before school, and one day I started thinking and feeling like I shouldn't be drinking coffee anymore. And I decided at that time that I wasn't going to drink it ever again, because it wasn't good for me. I didn't know why, I just felt it. And I never forgot it either. Hold that thought for a second. Then when I was in 6th grade, there was a boy that I thought was really cute, and I at the time prayed he would be my boyfriend. And while I was praying, I didn't hear a voice, but I had a strong impression to wait until I was 16. And I didn't know what it meant, but I also had a feeling that I needed to remember that. And so I came up with lots of reasons why I might have felt that we were going to get married when I turned 16, or he was going to ask me on a date. But then when I was in 8th grade, there was, I was preparing to make my confirmation in the Catholic Church. And a priest was giving a speech on the meaning of being Catholic. And one of my friends raised her hand and she said, "Excuse me, I don't think it matters if you're Lutheran or Methodist or Protestant. As long as you believe in God and you do good things, I think you'll go to heaven." And I believed that at the time too. And I was shaking my head in agreement. And then the priest who was speaking, he got very angry and he said, "Absolutely not. By making your confirmation in the Catholic Church, you're saying that 100% this is the true Church of God, and everything we believe is true, and everything that we teach is true, and everything every pulpit said is true." And he went on for probably like a half hour telling us what it meant to be Catholic. And I realized at that moment that first, I didn't know everything about the Catholic Church. And second, not knowing everything, I felt I couldn't say that it was 100% the true Church of God. But I realized that if it meant so much for me to be confirmed in the church, I needed to really know what I was doing. And I began a spiritual quest at the time. I started researching books from the library and asking my friends in school and searching every way I could to find out more about not only the Catholic Church but other churches, because I felt I couldn't say that it was the only right one without knowing what other people were saying. So I, in my research, realized that pretty much every church felt they were the true church, and everyone felt they were right, and they all had their reasons, and they also felt other people were wrong. And I realized it was impossible for them all to be right, because some people were saying everyone's going to heaven, some people were saying only this person's going to heaven, or only this group is going to heaven, and I thought, there's no way these are all right. And I didn't know, and I didn't think that there was any way to find out by asking anyone on earth. But I knew if God had a true church, He would find a way to answer us and help us find it. And so one day I decided to pray and ask God. I knelt down and prayed, and I asked Him to know which church was true. And 2 days later He sent 2 missionaries to my house. They told me that the Book of Mormon was true, and like the others, I took the book and I put it on my pile of books that I was reading about different religions. 2 weeks later I picked up the book and I decided I needed to look into it. Out fell a little pamphlet, and on the pamphlet, the first thing that caught my eye was that members of the church don't drink coffee. And as I went down the list, the next thing I saw was that members of the church don't date until they're 16. And I felt really good. And I felt like I needed to learn more. Immediately, the memories of things that Heavenly Father prepared me with came to my mind and made sense. And I started to read the Book of Mormon. And I was a really bad reader at the time. I was in the resource room for reading, and I could barely, figure out what I was reading. But I knew I felt the Spirit. And every day for over a year, I would pick up the book as much as I could and read a verse, which would take me 15 minutes or so to get through it and figure out what I read. But I kept going. And then I asked my mom if we could go to church one day, the Mormon church. And she kept saying no. But she never said no forever. She just said no for the week. And then one day, it was a little more than a year later, she finally said, all right, put on a church dress, we'll go to the Mormon church today. And I was so excited. And we went to church, and I couldn't believe I was actually there. Church wasn't, anything really different from other churches I'd been to. It wasn't anything too crazy. There was nothing crazy at all. It's very simple, basic. But the miracle happened when I left church that day. As soon as I walked out of the doors of the church building, I felt the Spirit of God come over me. It was like a fire burning. I felt angels surrounding me. I felt like they were coming down from heaven and singing. And at that moment, I knew that God had answered me. I knew that the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints was the true Church of God. And I knew that no matter what, I needed to continue. My name is Jenny Bravada, and I am a Mormon.